Hey, I'm Friendly Baron, and something rarely talked about in speedrun videos is the strats and ideas that ended up not working out well enough to be added into the speedrun. However, these possible time saves are still important to teach us more about the game, and serve as possible ideas for future strats. In Prologue, I got a YouTube comment telling me that when you're getting into the getaway vehicle car as Michael, instead of Trevor like normal, there are slightly fewer voice lines. Which is true, the cutscene ends up being a little bit shorter. But it turns out to still not be faster overall. The game only allows you to switch to Michael after taking out the first two enemies as Trevor, and Michael is still near the door and usually in cover, and the time it takes him to run up to where Trevor was is longer than the time saved getting into the shorter Michael cutscene. Switching to Michael later once we've cleared more enemies as Trevor would probably work, as Michael has moved closer to Trevor before we switch to him. But the cops that we normally run past as Trevor will have spawned in at that point and killed Michael 10 out of 10 times I tried this, so that ends up not working either. The idea itself doesn't work, but it's good to keep in mind that each mission and section of the game behaves a bit differently depending on which character you're playing as. If the game had more inskippable cutscenes like the Prologue does, there'd probably be routing done to figure out which is the quickest cutscene for each character, or if we ran cutscene percent more often. The speedrun takes a pretty short route in Franklin and Lamar, turning left late then taking an early right into the movie studio so that Lamar is behind us the entire time and he goes faster than normal in an attempt to catch up. Alternative routes have been suggested here a few times. Crazy Clay recently brought it up again and made me think, why is a route like this slower than the movie studio one? Basically, the wide route here keeps up the speed of the player, so it feels faster, but Lamar's speed to rubber band him along is more important. When going wide, Lamar moves much slower as we technically aren't in front of him anymore on a parallel line, so he's not moving at warp speed to catch up. Meanwhile in the movie route, we are always ahead of him through each turn, so when arriving to the left-hander down into the canals, the wide route has to wait for Lamar to catch up more or you lose him and fail the mission. The current movie route just gets to continue on as Lamar will be close enough to not flunk the mission already. The general routing of the driving is pretty well mapped out this far into the game's speedrun evolution, but it never hurts to keep looking at ways it could be better. In my Risky Strats video, I showed a route that Sepek found where you could jump over the water and save maybe 1 second even though it only works less than 1 out of 10 times. Source recently found a new line that still jumps the water, but the jump is done farther west over a much smaller gap. Visually on a map, you can see this line is much shorter, but that doesn't mean faster. Because of the airtime of the jump and navigating through the sidewalks, the overall speed ends up being slower compared to the normal route of the speedrun going on the road. It's like the reverse of a shortcut from our arcade racing game. Something being looked at by the speedrun Discord often lately is teleporting NPCs in and out of vehicles. For example on Chop, Dark Viper was playing around with using garbage bags to block Lamar, but then Deuce saw that and found a way to park a car behind the van that blocks Lamar's pathing so he teleports into the van instantly. I'll cover that more in a Strat Update video next week as it is actually faster. For this video though, Jabba Gaz found a way to teleport Tanya into the tow truck I'm pulling favors. By parking in the corner, Franklin will teleport out of the truck while Tanya slowly walks over. However, the player just drives away instead of waiting for her to get inside. After 15 seconds, the pathing of Tanya hits the fail point and she is just teleported into the vehicle. This gets us out of the parking lot 1.5 seconds sooner than normal. However, you have to slow down before getting to the end of this intersection or the mission fails you for being too far away from Tanya. Basically, you need to stay within a certain distance of her while waiting for the teleport. This means you lose the acceleration on the truck and end up losing at least 5 seconds waiting for her. So it's a neat trick to get in the truck quicker, but ends up being slower overall. You also can't park closer to the truck to get Franklin in faster, as then Tanya will be in the way and you'll hit her. This also fails the mission. A cool trick you can do with BMX bikes in GTA 5 is ride up walls with them like this. This is a guide from Ollie43 that I think I first used to learn this. There's a link to it in the description if you want to know how it's done. It's pretty simple actually. The only point in the speedrun this might be useful is in Daddy's Little Girl, where we could BMX up the side of the pier while racing Jimmy, as shown from this clip Do also made. However, there's perfectly good ramps on the normal route that let the speedrun take a much smoother turn and a gradual slope. So by the time you go into the slow sand, lose all forward momentum, going up the wall, then turn left onto the pier, going the normal route here is still faster. Something suggested to me half a year ago was to run up the side of the stairs here and go across this small construction wall over to the ladder. This ends up being 4 seconds slower than going inside and up the stairs when done well, which was expected, but neat to see there's at least one other option for going up the building here. Throughout the game, we drive the characters' vehicles a handful of times: Michael's Tailgater, Trevor's Bodie truck, and Franklin's Buffalo. During Architect's plans, we go into the Los Santos Customs to change the color on Franklin's vehicle to lose the cops, and take a moment to upgrade the car's performance too for future missions. Many people often ask me why we don't do that sooner, or why we don't upgrade the other characters' vehicles, and this has been my main inspiration for this video. Similar to how in GTA Online you only unlock better engine, transmission, and turbo upgrades as you level up, in GTA V Singleplayer you unlock vehicle upgrades as you pass main storyline missions. You will get a text letting you know that new parts are now available. These are only fully unlocked around the Deep Inside mission, which is about 55% of the way through the speedrun. That's part of the reason we don't upgrade Franklin's car any earlier than Architect's plans, which is like 85% in the run. But the two biggest drives with Franklin and his car happen after that mission anyways, hence why it's worth doing there. Early in the run, not having upgrades means it's not worth going to the mod shop, or people overvalue the worth of the upgrades we do have. To demonstrate, let's look at Mr. Phillips. This is the first mission we play as with Trevor, about an hour into the game. Usually to end the mission, the player drives from Ortega's trailer back to Trevor's place. Hypothetically, we could make a detour to the mod shop and upgrade Trevor's truck. He starts off with $100,000 at this point, presumably because of his drug business, which is much more than Michael or Franklin have at the start of the game. There is actually a decent amount of upgrades available already: full turbo, full transmission, and engine level 2 out of a possible level 4. That side route to get to the upgrades takes 50 seconds total by the time you return to Trevor's house. These missions are all the missions we drive in Trevor's truck the rest of the game. It's not actually all that much. I've tested or made an estimate on how much we would save each mission by having the upgraded truck, and these are pretty generous amounts, but in total they are only going to save us 35 seconds overall. So that's a net loss of 15 seconds, since it takes 50 seconds to get the upgrades. Even if we could get a level 4 engine upgrade right away, that would probably at best save another 10 seconds total and still not be worth it. It is a bit of a shame that upgrading the cars isn't more common, as it's normally a big part of the game, but it's interesting how close it ends up being to almost being worthwhile in the speedrun. Also note, it used to be possible to upgrade the vehicles in the iFruit app on your real-life phone, but the community decided before I started even speedrunning to ban that. Any strat that requires an active internet connection is banned. Basically, the idea is, this is a single-player game and nothing that requires the internet should be required in the run. As well, it prevents problems from Rockstar servers having downtime, which they do quite often. And it future-proofs the speedrun, and for in 10 to 20 years, Rockstar will probably take down the servers on iFruit app eventually, but the speedrun can still be done at this point with those rules. In Fame or Shame, we drop the trailer off the semi-truck right away in order to chase Laszlo in his knockoff Prius. The speedrun currently drives down the ramp to follow him, but it would seem more logical to stay in the parking lot in order to take a shorter route to the next turn instead of dropping down. If you're an avid player or watcher of GTA 5, you will know Rockstar Games and logic doesn't go together too well. By staying in the parking lot instead of dropping down, it seems the game slows you down when you get ahead of the car you were supposed to be chasing so they can catch back up to you. This actually happens to us on purpose in the mission Legal Trouble as well, with the chase in the airport. However, it doesn't affect that mission as the forced slowdown happens close to the end. In Fame or Shame though, it seems the sooner you get ahead, or the farther to the side you go, then earlier the game will slow you down, and you either get stuck at a certain speed or in the current gear of the vehicle. I'm not sure exactly which, but either way it ends up making the top speed of the truck severely limited for the next 2 minutes of this drive. Well, 3 minutes if you get slowed down, making it necessary to be on the road and not cut through the parking lot as we prefer to. Another common suggestion I get in my Twitch chat is why not use Tanya to get a tow truck during Blitz play. The first time we get a tow truck with her is in Pulling Favors earlier in the game, and even though that is technically a side mission of the game, it is required to be done to unlock future missions. Tony has more missions you can then do, but we don't need them for the speedrun. However, we could start one of those missions, then get the tow truck with her. The truck doesn't spawn in until you start the mission. The speedrun could drive away from Tanya and fail after 15 seconds or so, similar to what we discussed with her teleporting in Pulling Favors. Then take that tow truck and use it in the Blitz Play setup mission now. That doesn't take too long, but there is a consistently spawned truck just for the Blitz Play setup anyways, where a mechanic is working on his car next to a tow truck, and going over there just to take his truck is 25 seconds faster than the Tonya strat. So it's a neat idea to steal the truck from one mission to use in another mission, but not useful in any form right now. An idea that's been floated around often, recently by some guys on my Discord, mostly Shylock and Kyle Leone, whose video I'm using right now. Basically the idea is that you would place sticky bombs where the target spawns in Assassination number 1, randomly at either door, and kill him as he spawns in, which seems to work well. However, this would only be useful if you were able to be far away when exploiting the stickies, as normally in the speedrun we kill the guy right away in our car and drive off, looking in a certain direction to guarantee he spawns at the same door each time. As the speedrun drives off, the mission passes around this intersection near the Life Invader offices. That point is also as far away you can be before the mission fails you when the guy spawns in for being too far away. But blowing up the stickies from here fails the mission anyways, and then soft locks the game, meaning you are stuck on this screen until you close the game. It seems being anywhere out in the street causes it to fail, and blowing up the stickies close to the parking garage saves no time and just makes things riskier than doing the shootout from the car as normal, so it ends up not being worth it. It's pretty confusing how this section works with the stickies or proximity mines, but kinda lame it doesn't work. It would be a cool time save just to have a well-timed remote detonation. This is a cool find from Guy009. During I Fought the Law, instead of driving all the way back to the city, he drives right in the Fort Zancudo and steals a cargo bob, and uses it to carry the car back to the city over the hills. People have tried this before, but had been unsuccessful until now actually getting the cargo bob. Sadly, the cargo bob is very slow and takes ages to gain height over the hills here, and it takes an extra minute to get into the city compared to the driving from the top speedrunners. However, if someone was really bad at brake boosting or crashed a ton while driving in general, then it may be worth it to them to do this cargo bob strat. Except that even if you try this strat, 9 out of 10 times, a cargo bob won't spawn in or it will take off too quickly for you to get in. If anyone does want to try this, I found that hitting the look back button every other second seems to have a 90% spawn chance of the chopper, though I didn't test it much once I realized how slow it was. It's a very cool idea, and it works because the game only cares to fail the mission if you get too far from the vehicle, but since it's so close to the chopper, the game is perfectly happy to let you fly along. One more thing, in the mission cleaning out the bureau, we have to wait for an NPC to go through traffic lights and the traffic itself to get back to his house. This ends up taking a few seconds as he gets all the greens. Or more often, your luck is the same as getting seated next to a crying baby on a long flight, and he hits tons of red lights. A common idea is to knock over the traffic poles with your car so he would drive right through, which could be hilarious attention to detail by Rockstar. But sadly, the NPCs in the game don't look at the lights, but are rather controlled by the internal timings of the stoplights that continue on even without the proper signage. The future of self-driving cars, except it loses you time in speedruns. Thanks for watching. I really enjoyed taking a look at some of the interesting but not so speedy possibilities for the GTA 5 speedrun. It's a really underrated part of speedrunning that you can learn a lot about the game with failed ideas that might help future ones to work. If you are new and like this video, my other ones are pretty similar, so maybe check them out. I want to say like the video if you enjoyed it and consider subscribing to my channel to help it grow, as well as improve your YouTube recommendations. But that also feels really dirty to me, so you should know I feel bad saying that. But I'm gonna say it anyways. That will be our compromise.